Whenever my wife works on her art and crafts, it gets kind of messy and it's not organized, but I've got a solution. First thing I'm going to do is take a 1x6 and cut it at 35 inches. I'm actually going to need 4 of these because these are going to be her new craft table. So once I get all 4 of these, I'm going to line them all up, one in front of the other. That's going to give me 22 inches of table. Once I got those lined up, I need a 1x3. I'm also going to cut that at 35 inches. Each one of these 1x3s, which is 2 of them, is going to go up and down the side of the table. I'm going to use glue because glue is such an amazing adhesive. I'm going to set that over on the side of the tables, as you can see from the 4 boards. Once I got in place, I'm going to use brad nails to hold it. Doesn't take much. Now it's time to do the top and the bottom of the table. This is only 17 inches. Again, I'm going to put some glue out and put it in place. What that's going to do is join all 4 of these 1x6s together. We're going to let that set up, and here's our table, but it's upside down. Now I need to build the legs for the table inside the frame of the table that I built. I'm going to set 2 boards on the inside, and there's going to be a 12-inch board that's going to go in the middle. We're going to set that in place, again using glue to put it, but I need a space on each side so that the table goes in together. Now it's time to grab my Kreg jig. I love this thing. It's great for doing pocket holes and pocket screws. Just use it and drill in. It's great as a guide and helps me hide the screws when I'm putting some tables together. Look at that. You don't see them from the other side, but you'll see them from the front. So what we're going to do is clamp together the frame of the legs of the table, and I'm going to use these pocket hole screws to put them together. It's easy to do, and you can't really mess it up. And look at that. That joint is super strong. The next thing I'm going to do is take some glue, and I'm going to put some wood pegs inside. It's really going to hide up those holes that I cut. Now you think you're sticking out now, but watch this. A little bit of sanding, they disappear, and it's great. I can get ready to paint it. Now I want to build the main frame of the cabinet that I'm building that the table's going to go against. I'm going to use 1x6s again to build the frame, and I'm going to put some shelves inside with them 1x4s. As you can see, there's a gap, and I'll show you why. Once it's all super strong and ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and paint the legs and the table and everything like that. Now I'm going to put down a primer first, and that's going to help the paint adhere to the wood. But one thing I'm not going to paint is the top of the table. I want to go ahead and stain that. And I want to make it dark because it's going to stand out a little bit from the white paint of the legs and the frame. When using stain, I do use a pre-stain and put that on. It helps this smooth over. And I don't use a brush. I actually use a towel because I feel like I can smear it on and make it look nice and make it more even. Once I get the table all done, it's time to put the hinges. Here we are back to the legs with the cross members, and I'm going to use a piano hinge. Take that, put the piano hinge on, and use the screws that are provided. Now I'm going to adhere it to the bottom of the table. Using the piano hinge again, just put it on there. Now it's time to put the table with the legs onto the frame using these brackets and these hinges, and it's going to give it a nice farmhouse look. Once I get this all put up, I'm going to set it onto the wall and mount it with some screws, making sure it's level. Now watch this miracle that's going to happen. I'm going to open the legs with the latch first, and then I'm going to open the table, and look at this. That is the greatest, coolest Murphy table I've ever built, and I love it, and it's got perfect storage. Now, remember that mess we had in the beginning? Look at this at the end. I can put all the crafts in there, and it's the perfect height for working on the table. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did, and I hope it inspired you to build your own DIY cabinet Murphy table.
I'm not a fan of doing laundry, and when it comes to folding clean clothing, there's not enough room in my laundry room. I began by cutting 1x12-inch pine to make the storage cabinet. I made the outside box first. I used a Kreg jig to make pocket holes to join my pieces together. This, along with wood glue, would keep everything in place. I measured for my shelves, marking and cutting them to fit, and screwed them in place. Now that the cabinet was made, it was time to make the table. I used 1/2 inch MDF, which I measured and cut to size. I attached a piece of 1 by 2 to the bottom of the MDF with glue and brads. I also made the legs for the table out of 1 by 2s. I painted the entire cabinet gray using paint from another project. For the back of the table, I used chalkboard paint and applied 2 coats. When it was dry, I flipped the table over and applied wallpaper to the other side. This would be my tabletop. To attach the table to the cabinet, I used a piano hinge. I screwed it to the wallpaper side of the tabletop and the bottom front of the cabinet. I used another hinge and attached it to the top of the blackboard side and to the top of the legs. For the back of the cabinet, I attached a 1/4 inch piece of plywood. The cabinet was very heavy, so I used a French cleat as my hanger. There are 2 pieces, and one screws into the back of the cabinet and then one screwed into the wall. Where I wanted to place the cabinet, there were no studs available, so I drilled holes and put in plastic anchors. The cleat is really easy to install, and the cabinet hung right up. To keep the table attached to the cabinet, I fastened a heavy-duty magnet to the front. Now I have a place to fold my clothing, extra storage, and a chalkboard to write notes. It's a win-win. I hope this inspires you to build something that's unusually useful.